Hey guys, it's Andrew here. In the last video we looked at what is a subnet and why do we have a subnet, right? And we looked at an example with Starbucks where we said we're going to have a different set of networks. We're going to have an open Wi-Fi network, we might have an HVAC system, we might have a point of sale system, and we may have additional networks all existing inside of one business or one logical location. All right. And it may actually span multiple logical locations as we look to larger networks in the future. But for our examples here, we said, we have this open Wi-Fi network and we may not want our point of sale system operating on our open Wi-Fi network. Again, it's not logically set. Why should customers have direct access to the point of sale system? Why should customers have direct access to the HVAC system? They could get into the HVAC system and crank up the heat in the summer or turn on the AC in the winter, right? That would make things very uncomfortable. Or they could also gain access to other devices through the HVAC system. Same for the point of sale. I don't want my customers being able to get in to my point of sale system and potentially, steal people's credit card information or whatever have you. And again, as I stated earlier, it's not just security, but it's also just logical representation, all right? Point of sale devices belong with point of sale devices and customers belong on the open Wi-Fi. So we're going to really see as we move deeper into this course the different modes in which we are going to break up our network into smaller pieces. And towards the end, we will actually take one big network and we're going to actually use that concept of variable length subnet masks to break a network up into different smaller pieces as we need them for maybe that point of sale system and that open Wi-Fi. So before we can even get there, though, we have to establish some measure of rules of communication, right? When we have a conversation with each other, we have a set of rules, right? So for instance, let's take a phone call. Now, I know most of you probably don't use a phone anymore. I mean, that's the thing for texting and WhatsApp and all the others, right? But just, hypothetically speaking, let's say we're still on a phone call, all right? Now, this is probably going to be the ugliest phone you've ever seen. Let's keep it simple. All right. We're just going to call that a phone. All right. And it's got a little cord hanging off of it here. And let's say that this phone is making a phone call and you are actually calling your friend. All right. And you're calling your friend's phone over here. They got a funky looking phone. All right. And this goes back down to either a let's just say this goes down to our 4G network, right? So we're making a phone call on our cell phones, but apparently our cell phones have wires. This is a weird story. But regardless, let's just say we have their phones and we're making a phone call. So you call your friend, right? And when they pick up the phone, you wait and they say hello. All right? And then once they say hello, they're waiting for you to say hello. All right. And then you may begin the conversation with some information, and then back and forth throughout the entire conversation, one person is speaking and another person is listening. All right. And then at the end of the phone call, one or the two sides will initiate the end of the conversation and they'll say, okay, I gotta go, I'll see you later, goodbye, right? And you say bye, and that's it. The phone call is over. All right. So we may have rules, we have rules of communication when verbally speaking also. So if you ever took like any college course or anything of that matter, generally the teacher will stand up in front of the room, right? And, you'll have your teacher up here in the front of the room and all the students will be down here, right? Right, you'll have different students and they'll be listening to the teacher, and the teacher is, projecting his or her voice outwards. Right? And the students are listening, right? And they're listening. And as the teacher is speaking, the students are staying quiet. Whereas when the teacher is done speaking and maybe asking questions, one student is speaking, the others are listening, and the teacher is listening. And we have this rule in this mode of communication. Otherwise, if everyone's shouting at the same time, it becomes a complete mess, right? We have no rule for communication. Or in the case of computer systems, we're actually going to call this a protocol, all right? And we're going to have some measure of protocols that are going to be specific to our internet communications. Now, I just alluded to it there, but earlier in the first introduction video, I mentioned something called IPv4 and IPv6, Internet Protocol version 4 and Internet Protocol version 6. We're going to be using these sets of rules for both communication and the structure and deployment of IP addresses to develop our systems, our network systems. So before we look ahead at the different types of manipulation of this IPv4 protocol, binary control and decimal values and hexadecimal and all the different conversions, we're going to take a look at, in the next video, the different types of communication that our computers are actually going to engage in using this protocol. And we're going to be looking at the three main ones, looking at unicast, multicast, and broadcasting networks. So I'll see you guys in the next video.